All right, so the first assignment is mixing chickens. Sometimes they look like chickens, sometimes they look like dinosaurs, sometimes they look like dogs. They can look like whatever, but you just want to make sure that you pay attention to the list here, because some of these chickens are going to be equal mixtures like we see right here, and then others are going to actually be solid color chickens that you will start doing when you get down here towards the bottom, and that's where we'll start trying to mix our blacks. So my first mixture is cadmium red, which is this right here, and alizarin crimson. And I would recommend making sure the paint is wet before you go in and try to paint. So I want to get it kind of like this. So I'm going to use these two as the first example, and then I'm going to use two more that may not be in the specific order of the chickens, but I want to use two contrasting colors so you can see how to do this just a bit better. But the first one's going to be cadmium red and alizarin crimson. So I want them to mix, and my first one's going to look, there's the beak, there's the head and the body of the chicken, and there's the front leg of the chicken. I'm going to take cadmium red. I'm going to come in and do the back side, and I want to do this kind of quick because I don't want this to dry. Cadmium red, and I'm just going to let them touch and let them run. And as I do this, if you pay attention, you don't see a ton of color shifting, only because these colors are so similar. But I did notice that alizarin crimson went way into the cadmium red, so that means that alizarin is a little bit stronger. So let's kind of touch it up. And I'm not going to do much more than that right there, okay? That's my first chicken. The other thing is, don't forget to label your chickens. Alizarin crimson. You can just initial it, plus cadmium red. That way you'll know what color mixtures you're creating, and you don't have to go back and do it after the chickens are all painted. Crimson and cadmium red there at the top. And I'm going to skip down and show you a few other ones that you can do too. Let's try a secondary pigment, cadmium orange and viridian. All right, I'm going to show you now number 14, cadmium orange and viridian. I'm going to skip orders. You want to make it sure it goes in the order of the list. But for the demo, I'm going to show you these two contrasting colors so you can see it a little bit better. There's cadmium orange. There's the first part of my chicken. There's the leg and the ground it's standing on. And then viridian. And you can see viridian's the stronger color there. It just takes right over. Bring it down to the ground. And there is cadmium orange plus viridian. So I've skipped down to the list, mixing grays and practice mixing dark values. Here we're not going to split the chickens up. We're going to make one color with these mixtures here. So I'm going to mix ultramarine blue and cadmium orange first, and that's what I'm going to use to make the chicken for number 22, a solid color. All right, so I've got cadmium orange right here, and I'm going to mix this on the palette right here in the center, and then I've got ultramarine blue right here. And you would think half and half would work, but that's not always the case. So blue is going to be the stronger color most likely. So I'm going to bring it over here and try and get, that's getting a little too orange. Let's get a little more blue. Now I'm getting a nice gray mixture. I'm going to bring that over here. I'm going to paint a chicken. Now if it starts to dry out on me, I need more water. Coming back over to my... So that's a nice, beautiful gray. And I did that with cadmium orange and ultramarine blue. Just mixing dark values. Number 26, Prussian, alizarin crimson, and viridian. Prussian is the strongest color, so that'll probably be the least amount of paint that you use for this mixture. So I would go in and mix up equal amounts of alizarin crimson and viridian and then add the Prussian. So let's see how this works out. Alizarin, viridian, and Prussian blue. Take my red mixture, alizarin, let's take a little bit of viridian over here. You'll get a really nice gray with this. It's actually one of the first color combinations on the neutral chart. Very nice. And then over here, Prussian, and this is a really, really strong color. So if you just, a little bit goes a long way. And so that shifts it towards a blue value. If you don't want to have a blue value, then come back and add a little bit more green or a little bit more red. It's always going to have a hint of color. So now I'll take that and come over and there's a chicken for one of my dark values. There you go. So there's number 1 on the list, number 14 on the list, number 22 on the list, and number 26 on the list.